Quentin Tarantino is a filmmaking genius, but his outspoken nature has created some powerful enemies. Today we're uncovering the real stories behind 6 actors he publicly clashed with, from shocking insults to an accusation of betrayal that nearly destroyed one of his most famous movies. Most people remember when Quentin Tarantino and George Clooney teamed up for the 1996 film From Dusk Till Dawn. Tarantino wrote the script and co-starred, while Clooney delivered a magnetic performance that helped launch him into movie stardom. The film was a cult classic, a perfect blend of crime thriller and vampire horror. That seemed to signal a great partnership between two of Hollywood's rising talents. For years, everything seemed fine between them, but they never worked together again, leaving many to wonder why. The answer arrived nearly 2 decades later, and it came directly from Tarantino himself. In an interview, he started talking about the definition of a true movie star. In his eyes, a movie star isn't just a famous actor, they are a force of nature whose name alone can guarantee a film's success. He argued that this type of star was becoming rare. When asked for an example, he pointed directly at George Clooney, questioning how many of his films were massive box office hits since the year 2000 if he wasn't supported by a huge ensemble cast. In Hollywood, that isn't just an opinion, it's a direct challenge to an actor's power and bankability. The comment quickly made headlines, and it didn't take long for it to get back to Clooney. He was at a press conference promoting his own movie, The Monuments Men, when a reporter asked him to respond. Surrounded by co-stars like Matt Damon and Bill Murray, Clooney didn't hold back. He admitted he was irritated by the comment and said that Tarantino, of all people, should know better than to publicly criticize other artists. He ended his response with a very simple, direct message for Quentin Tarantino to, in his words, "F off." The feud was now out in the open, a public clash between an A-list director and an A-list actor. At its core, this fight was about more than just egos. It was about a fundamental disagreement over what success looks like in modern Hollywood. For Clooney, his career was built on a mix of big commercial films and smaller, more personal projects. For Tarantino, the only metric that seemed to matter for a movie star was raw, undeniable box office power. It was a classic Hollywood dispute over art versus commerce, but played out through personal insults in the media for the whole world to see. This war of words was a clear battle of professional pride, fought between two giants of the industry. But while a public insult from a peer can be frustrating, Tarantino was about to face a completely different kind of conflict. This next one wouldn't be about a difference of opinion, it would be about a deep personal betrayal from the people inside his most trusted circle. After a public spat with a star like George Clooney, you might think things couldn't get more professionally frustrating for Quentin Tarantino. You would be wrong. What came next wasn't a war of words fought in the press. It was a deep and personal wound that came from his own trusted inner circle, and it nearly killed one of his most anticipated projects before it ever began. The film was The Hateful Eight, and Tarantino believed it was one of the best things he had ever written. He was so protective of the story that he shared the first draft with only a handful of people. He gave the script to his producer and just 3 actors he was considering for major roles. These weren't new acquaintances. They were his guys, actors who were part of his creative family. The list included Michael Madsen and Tim Roth, 2 loyal members of his acting troupe since Reservoir Dogs, and the legendary actor Bruce Dern. Tarantino trusted them completely. He simply wanted their feedback and to get them excited about the project. But then the unthinkable happened. One of their agents apparently shared the script with other people, and in a matter of days, the entire 146-page screenplay was leaked online for the whole world to read. Tarantino's reaction was not just anger, it was pure devastation. He gave an explosive interview where he announced that he was canceling the movie entirely. He said, "I am very, very depressed," and explained that he felt completely betrayed. He publicly named the small group of people who had received the script, putting Madsen, Roth, and Dern under a giant cloud of suspicion. While he didn't blame the actors directly, he made it clear that the leak came from their camp. For a director who values loyalty and control above all else, this was the ultimate violation. The creative process had been broken, and his trust was shattered. He wasn't going to make the movie anymore. The project was dead. The fallout from this was immense. Not only was a major Tarantino film now canceled, but 3 respected actors were caught in the middle of his public fury. The bond between a director and his trusted actors is sacred in Hollywood, and for a moment, it seemed that bond was broken beyond repair. Tarantino even filed a lawsuit against the website that first published the link to his script, turning his personal feeling of betrayal into a full-blown legal battle over creative ownership. It seemed like a dark and bitter end to what should have been his next masterpiece. But then, something shifted. Tarantino organized a live reading of the script with a group of actors in front of a live audience, just to hear the words spoken. The response was electric, and the experience seemed to reignite his passion for the project. He slowly cooled down and, after rewriting parts of the story, including the ending, he decided to uncancel the movie. In a move that surprised everyone, he rehired the very same actors whose circle the leak had originated from. Michael Madsen, Tim Roth, and Bruce Dern were all given major roles in the final film. While the betrayal was real and the anger was justified, his loyalty to his actors and his belief in the project ultimately won. Tarantino managed to rebuild the trust within his inner circle after this deeply personal conflict. However, his next major public battle wouldn't come from a leak or a professional disagreement. It would come from the outside, from the passionate defenders of a martial arts legend who believed Tarantino's art had crossed the line into disrespect. In 2019, Quentin Tarantino released what many consider to be his magnum opus, Once Upon a Time, in Hollywood. The film was a love letter to the golden age of cinema, but one scene in particular sparked a massive firestorm of controversy. The scene featured a depiction of the legendary martial artist and actor Bruce Lee. In the film, Lee is shown on the set of The Green Hornet acting, in Tarantino's own words, kind of like an arrogant guy. He brags about his fighting ability, claiming he could leave a man like Cassius Clay, who would later be known as Muhammad Ali, a cripple. This portrayal then escalates into a scuffle with Brad Pitt's fictional stuntman character, Cliff Booth. The fight is portrayed as a near-equal match, ending with Booth slamming the martial arts master into the side of a car. For millions of Bruce Lee fans around the world, this was deeply disrespectful. The backlash was immediate and intense, and it was led by the person who knew him best, his daughter, Shannon Lee. She described the portrayal as a horrible and inaccurate caricature of her father, reducing a deeply philosophical and disciplined man to an arrogant punchline. She wasn't angry that he lost a fictional fight. She was hurt that the film seemed to mock his entire character and legacy. Faced with criticism from Bruce Lee's family and fans, most directors would issue a statement clarifying their artistic intent, or perhaps even apologize. Quentin Tarantino did the exact opposite. He refused to back down an inch and aggressively defended his portrayal. During a press event in Moscow, he told reporters that Bruce Lee, according to many accounts and biographies, really was arrogant. He argued that his depiction was based on research and that the people criticizing it were either ignoring the facts or were simply being too precious with their hero's image. He specifically defended the fight scene as well, arguing that Cliff Booth was a fictional character designed to be one of the deadliest men in the world. In his fictional universe, it was entirely plausible that a trained killer like Booth could hold his own against a martial artist, even one as skilled as Bruce Lee. This, of course, did little to calm the situation. The debate raged on, creating a very public and uncomfortable standoff between one of the world's most powerful directors and the family of one of its most beloved icons. Ultimately, the conflict was never resolved. Tarantino never changed the scene and never apologized, standing firm on his right to artistic interpretation. The controversy highlighted a major question in filmmaking. Where is the line between telling a fictional story and respecting the memory of a real person? Tarantino made his position clear, showing that he was unwilling to change his vision of a past Hollywood legend to please modern critics. But as it turns out, he had just as many strong opinions about the biggest stars of today, which would lead him into a direct clash with the single most powerful force in modern cinema. Quentin Tarantino built his career by creating unforgettable characters, but he also came up in an era defined by the power of the movie star. His final major public conflict shows his struggle to reconcile that old-school belief with the new reality of Hollywood. This time, his target wasn't a single actor, but the entire system that has come to dominate the modern box office, the superhero franchise, and more specifically, Marvel. In a widely publicized podcast interview, Tarantino laid out his argument, which he called the Marvelization of Hollywood. His point was simple but incredibly controversial. He argued that in today's film industry, the actors in these massive franchises are no longer the stars. The characters they play are. He explained that while part of the joy of movies in the past was discovering an actor and following their career, audiences today aren't flocking to see a Chris Evans movie. They're going to see the new Captain America movie. In his view, the heroes have become bigger than the actors, and the brand has become more important than the artist. He wasn't necessarily saying the movies were bad, but he was arguing that this system prevents the creation of true, old-fashioned movie stars. As you can imagine, this did not sit well with the actors who have dedicated years of their lives to building the Marvel Cinematic Universe. The pushback was swift, and it came from some very prominent figures. One of the first to respond was an actor who has one foot in Tarantino's world, and the other firmly planted in Marvelette's, Samuel L. Jackson. As Nick Fury, Jackson is a cornerstone of the MCU, but he's also one of Tarantino's most iconic collaborators. Jackson completely disagreed, stating that it absolutely takes an actor to be those particular characters. He made it clear that the charisma and talent of the performer are what bring the characters to life, a point he punctuated by laughing and declaring, "I'm a star." An even more pointed response came from one of Marvel's newer stars, Simu Liu. The star of Shang-Chi argued that the old system of creating movie stars, the one Tarantino was defending, was exclusionary. Liu noted that if directors like Tarantino and Martin Scorsese were the sole gatekeepers of stardom, he would have never gotten the chance to lead a $400 million movie. He framed the Marvelization of Hollywood as a force for diversity, creating opportunities for actors from different backgrounds who were often overlooked by the traditional Hollywood machine. This debate was more than just a disagreement. It was a reflection of the massive cultural shift in entertainment. It represents the ongoing battle between the old guard of auteur directors and the new guard of franchise filmmaking. It's a conflict over what defines a star, what constitutes cinema, and who gets the opportunity to become a household name. This debate, perhaps more than any other, shows where Tarantino stands. He is a master from a different era, with a different set of rules for what makes a great movie and a true movie star. These public clashes, from accusations of betrayal to grand philosophical debates, all paint the picture of one of Hollywood's last true mavericks. So from shocking insults to outright betrayal, that's the truth behind Quentin Tarantino's biggest Hollywood feuds. If you know someone who loves cinema, do them a favor and share this video, and make sure to subscribe for more stories from behind the scenes.